Hey everybody. So I have something that's been weighing on my heart for since the day it happened. Actually, it's just been a lot to process and a lot to mentally work through. So just bear with me. And I don't like to be up here and cry and things, but I'm still struggling with it. It's still hard for me to even speak about it without getting really emotional. And so I just ask that you guys bear with me. And if this is not the video for you, I just want to say, thank you for stopping through anyways. But you're more than free to go if this is not something that resonates with you, or if it's just simply something that you don't want to hear or care to know. But for all those that do want to hear it, make sure that you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you have your post notifications turned on, so every time I upload, you guys can be notified, okay? So we're going to get into it. It's actually 1:42 in the morning. I just finished getting ready for bed. I just threw on my hair tie and I'm just here, and I was contemplating on doing a video while I was still dressed and while, I was still looking presentable, but I don't even care. So we're just going to get right into it again, like I said. So July 19th, 2024 was the worst day of my life. And I wouldn't wish that experience on anyone at all. Okay? So to just give you a little background, I'm a single mom of 4. My oldest is 15. He'll be 16. And I literally had just the day prior. No. That same day, just a little. No, yeah, the day prior, I literally just had finished having a conversation with him, just like mother to son, just sitting down talking and just let him know what are some of the things I expect from him. And as far as how for him to behave, some of the things, just regular talk or whatever. Just trying to give him words of encouragement, just talking with my son. And so the next day rolls around. It's during the day. It's a weekend. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it was a Saturday, if I remember correctly. I'm home. It's during the day. I work in healthcare. I work at night. I usually work 7 to 7. So it was a day, or 7 to 7:30. It was a day I was not at work. And it was during the day, so I wouldn't have had to be at work during that time anyway. So I'm home. I have 1 son, 3 daughters, with my son being the oldest. He's my oldest. And so I get a call. And there, everybody done ate. Everybody is, chilling. And so I'm in my room. I don't really remember what I was doing, because from this phone call forward, a lot of things were just a blur. A lot of things were just a blur, and a lot of things, it was just so much going on. So I get a call, and it was strange to me because the number, I can tell, was a city number. What is a city number calling me? It's a weekend. That sparked. That was the first red flag right there. It was just, that was weird. So the caller is like, "Oh, this is Officer such and such. I'm calling you from such and such," which would have been the next, which would have been Uh, this officer wasn't a part of the police station where I was living at. So basically, where the situation happened at, the police from there was reaching out to me. So I get a call and they're like, your son has been in a really bad accident. He's in critical condition. And we need you to come to the hospital. So I'm instantly panic mode. All that training from me being, working in healthcare and all of that out the window. You don't know how you're gonna respond or react until you're in a situation. You just never know. And so I'm asking all these questions. I don't even, thinking back now, I don't even know how I asked all these questions. I'm just trying to figure out, you know, what was going on. It was a car accident he was in. And so my first thoughts were, is everybody okay in the vehicle he was in? Was anybody hurt? Was there another vehicle involved? Was anybody in that vehicle hurt? Just asking all these different questions. Like, just, I don't even know what made me think to ask all these questions. I'm asking, is my son okay? Things like that. Of course, I know he's not okay because they just told me that he's in critical condition and I need to get my tail up to the hospital. This is actually my son's footprints from off of his birth certificate. You know how they put the stuff on the feet, the baby feet or whatever, and they, you know. So I actually took that with me, the birth certificate, to the tattoo guy, and he actually. So these are actually my son's feet and how they were put on the birth certificate paperwork after they pressed it on, put the ink on his feet and then pressed it on the paper. So that's my son. That's his feet. And so I'm like, I'm freaking out. So I get off the phone with them. Long story short, I get off the phone with them there. You need to get here now. You need to get up to the hospital now. They tell me what hospital. In the mix of that, now my daughters are looking at me like crazy. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And I still haven't even been able to process what I've been told. But I know I heard critical and hospital and near fatal car accident. And they also use the words near imminent death. And so you can just imagine, I was just all over the place. So I get on the phone with my mom. I call my mom. I'm trying to call my sister because my sister, doesn't live too far away. I'm trying to call, to see if I can get someone over fast to come sit with my daughters. And so I guess that didn't work fast enough. So I want to say, give or take, maybe anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes passed. In that time, I'm throwing something on. I'm talking to my daughters, letting them know, like, I don't know what's going on, but I know that was the police, and I have to go see what's going on with your brother. And so I hear a banging at the door downstairs. So I, at the time, lived in a two-family house. I had to go downstairs to open up the door because it was locked. And so I go downstairs, and it's the police from my town now. And now and I was just confused because I'm like, I know I just spoke to some officers a few minutes ago, and I'm trying, they're like, no, like, we need you at the hospital now. It was two officers that showed up, and they were waiting for a third officer to show up. That way, that officer can take me over to the hospital while the first two officers that showed up stay back at my home with my daughters, because that's what they were saying. They were like, We'll stay here until family gets here. We'll stay here with them. And you can imagine, I was like really uncomfortable with that. But I'm like, these people have on body cam. And, my second oldest in line, she, you know, she was 11, so she's able to make sure that she oversees what's going on and pay attention and see what's going on. Our two little siblings, even though these officers are here, because I don't know them. Period. And so now we it's a lot going on. It's really chaotic. That third car, took quite a few minutes to get there. Once they arrive, we just zoom off to the hospital, to the first hospital. So this is how out of it I am. I'm in a police car. I'm in the back seat, and not even realizing that I'm trying to get out. Like, as soon as we pull up, I'm trying to get out, not realizing, okay, crazy, you're in a police car. You have to wait for them to come unlock the door and open the door for you. And so as soon as he gets out to open the door, I just dash right into the hospital. Like, I just dashed in there. And I get in there and my knees just buckled. And I'm just like, it was like a crazy out-of-body experience that I hope to never have to experience again in my life. So we're in the lobby of the hospital. And, like, I have all these doctors and everything rushing out because I'm like, at this point, I'm sitting in front of a chair. I'm not sitting on the chair. I'm sitting in front of a chair, because my legs just gave out from under me. So now I'm on the floor in front of the chair, facing the chair, just crying on the chair, crying on the chair, crying on the chair, crying on the chair. So someone comes and helps me. They take me to the back. But the whole time I'm like hesitant, and I'm trying not to walk back there because I don't know. Oh, yeah, sorry guys, that I don't know what that was, but somebody just think it's smart to drive around the town at 1:53 a.m. with their speakers on full blast. But anywho, so I'm a little apprehensive about going towards the back, but I'm walking with them, but I'm kind of not really wanting to go, if it makes sense, because I'm like trying to brace myself for what it is is about to happen next, what I may be seeing next. So we get to the back, and they put me in a little meeting conference room. I meet with some of the doctors there. They just briefed me on what's going on real quick. They're letting me know that they got to get him out. They got to fly him out to another hospital, which was over an hour away from the town we were residing in. And so, we're in this conference room. Of course, you have to just think about it. It's a lot going on. It's a lot of paperwork. My son is a minor. They need me. It's just a lot they need me to do. And so after we get that settled and we talk a second, it's like really brief. Everything feels like it's taking long, but it's really not. It's just everything's just so much going on. So now, it feels like forever, but it really wasn't. And now they're letting me know that they're going to take me to the back, and I'll be able to meet with the medical team that's going to be flying with him in the helicopter, because like I said, he at this point has to be airlifted to a hospital that can address his injuries. And so now we get up, walking down that hall, and I have that same feel again, like, what is this I'm about to see? And I'm trying to brace myself, but at the same time, I'm trying to tell myself, like, you got to pull it together. You have to pull it together, because your son needs you to be strong. You have to be strong for your kids and whatnot. But also, I just want to rewind back a second. When I was on the phone, like I said, when I was calling my mom and I was telling her what was going on, I growing up, I really didn't see my mom like crying things like that, or and so when my mother, when my mom cried and yelled out that what, and like in that moment, like I wasn't sure if everything was gonna be okay or not, but I knew I had to keep faith in God, and I knew I had to be strong. So I just wanted to not leave that piece of information out. Um, because she was like, "What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? He's in critical condition." This is exactly what her words were. Sorry. And so we're walking down the hall. Fast forward, we're walking down the hall, about to walk me into the room where my son is at, and there's just so many people in there. The medical team for that's gonna be flying with him on the helicopter is there. I'm talking to them, and I'm about to, I don't notice yet, but I notice once I get in there. So of course I'm like bracing myself again, and I get in the room, and the first thing I see is my boy in a bed, hospital bed, laid out, and he's completely bandaged. His head was bandaged up because he had a head injury. So my son sustained a traumatic brain injury. And so I cried a second, but I just had a voice in my head that said, "Girl, you better be quiet and you better be strong. You got to be strong." And so now they're telling me they're gonna airlift him to the hospital. What hospital he's going to? They're letting me know that the team, his medical team, is gonna be with him flying, but that I can't fly with him because there's not enough space in the helicopter, which was like a blow to me because what parent wouldn't want to be right at the bedside with your kid, but I understood what it was. And again, like I said, I work in healthcare, so I understand. And so I just told them, do what y'all got to do, just save my son's life. Whatever decisions you guys think is the best for you to do for the sake of my son, do what y'all got to do. And so they're asking me, this was 4 people total in the car with my son, and he was the only one that sustained injuries. What I was actually told by the detective later down the line was that my son was the only one that sustained those type of any like injuries like this, and for the most part, nobody else went to the hospital. They, I guess, didn't see fit. I don't know. That's just what I was told. And so what got me through is I chose to think of it as maybe God chose my son because maybe for whatever reason, he felt like my son would be the strongest to be able to go through this and be able to pull through it. And that he indeed did. So now we get out the room. I go back into that conference room because at this point now, I'm signing release forms and stuff like that, paperwork and things of that nature. And in the meantime, they're trying to figure out how to get me up there like, you know, the fastest way, because of course nobody wants you to drive. Um, so they're trying to get me a taxi to go up there. And like I said, it's over an hour away from where we were living. And so, you know, before we left the room, they gave me all my sons, you know, the bag, you get the clear see-through bag with all your property. All my son's stuff was completely cut. They cut off all his clothing, blood everywhere. Everything was bloody. Shoes was bloody. His phone was in a bag. But everything was bloody. Everything. I'm just so grateful for the response time. And because I'm not sure, but I know that I was also told that, you know, getting him, the officer told me that getting my son to the hospital was his main priority once he made it to the scene, because he told me that he himself had went through a really terrible car accident and had to do a year and a half of physical therapy, X, Y, and Z, lawsuits, all of that hot mess stuff, in which I'm still dealing with all of that now. So, my son was really strong. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, you guys. I just really want to get this off my chest and like vent and get it out there. I don't know who this may touch or reach, but I know that just be strong. You have to be strong through it. You can't let it consume. You have to push. And sometimes us mothers, that's all we have is just pushing. Sometimes we have to just act, and sometimes we don't even really get a chance to really always think things thoroughly through. And so you have to be strong. Can't fold. Okay? I'm a city girl. And I ain't talk about the 304 type. I'm from New York City. Okay? We strong, we tough, and we survive. We gonna make it through. That's my mentality. Okay? We fight, we make it through. We get through it, we take something away from it and learn the lesson and push through and move forward with your life. You have to, And so now eventually the taxi shows up. I leave that hospital. I got my son's bloody stuff and all his stuff that was cut off of him. And so like I'm in this cab now, making my way to my boy. And I had a really good conversation with the cab driver on my way up there. If you guys want to hear more about that, definitely hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. And let me know down below in the comment section, whatever questions you want to ask me, let's be respectful. But, I'm willing to answer questions. I'm all over the place. I know you guys will probably have questions or whatnot. I just really wanted to get this off my chest. So we're at the next house. We're in the cab now, heading up there to the next hospital. And so, now we get to the next hospital and I'm trying to find out where my kid is. I'm giving him his information. I need to know. I have to check in. I'm irritated. I'm at just so many, all the different thoughts that can run through your mind. and all the different feelings you can have. I had them all at once. But again, I just have something in my head telling me you have to be strong. So now by this time, my family down in the city knows what's going on because I live upstate New York. And so, being 3.5 to 4.5 hours away from your family, it takes some time for them to commute. But I know that all my baby needed was me right there. I know that if I was right there, my baby would be okay. And I knew that because he gets his strength from me. I was raised by strong women, by the most beautiful strong women. And so I knew with God's covering and his blessings and his grace, and with our prayers, and with the help of these doctors, because it was a that was the best place in the area that my son could have even been at. So it worked out. I know as long as you just pray and pray and have faith, God will have you covered. And I know one thing, he don't play about me and my children. He show up for me and my children. And so God to just imagine how much I was begging him to show up for my son, but I already knew he would. And so now we're there. That I let them know I made it to the hospital. They're telling me my son is about to go into surgery. This is about to be like a 6-hour or more surgery. He's in surgery for like 6 hours or more. It was just a hot mess of a wait. Like just imagine waiting and just everybody, my family that wound up, they made it up there eventually, and everybody's just sad, crying. The kids is crying. My kids, my nephews, my little cousins, and my grown little cousins, my little cousins, my brothers, but yet you're still having to be strong because you're a mom. And again, if you don't be strong, who else is going to do it? And so eventually, I have to wait hours and hours and hours and hours on one floor where he was getting the surgery done at. They told us after all that time later, they're letting us know that, that they're gonna be moving him up to the ICU basically. So now he can try to, start recovering. And when they did the surgery, he had a whole medical team. Like he basically had a reconstruction team, and they had to basically go in there and what I didn't mention is that when my son made it to the first hospital, because I asked the cop, they said when they got to the scene, my son was conscious. And they believe that maybe his friends might have got him out the car because they were able to speak to my son. And I'm assuming that's how they may have gotten my number to be able to call. But when I got to the first hospital, he was already sedated. And they explained to me that they had to sedate him because he sustained a head injury. He started aspirating, basically on his own vomit and stuff. And so they didn't want him to be choking and stuff like that. And so they just went ahead and got him sedated and whatnot. So now, fast forward, I just wanted to mention that. But we're at the second hospital now. And now they're letting us know we can go up to the ICU floor, whatever. And, it takes, they said, but give us a minute because he's on so much machines and it takes a while to get all of that stuff. Anytime he got to be moved or run a test, they have to unplug all of them wires. And that means it was a lot. that's a task in itself. And so, it takes a while, but eventually they let us know, we can start going back to see him. And so, where his room was positioned at, like I walked out of like the little family room on that floor, and like you make a little left, and then you're at the end of the hall, and then you can either walk left or walk right. Well, my son's room was towards the right, and as soon as you look down the hall, this room had like the whole room was completely see through. So it was like glass windows, glass doors, all of that. They have to monitor him, and they like it was, y'all know how it would be in hospital. And so I didn't even have to really start walking down the hall to see him, but I could see that it was him, but I also didn't have that much of a great view because I was still all the way down the hall. And so, us as a family, because we shouldn't even have been up there with, they only allow you for real to have like 2 people at the bedside. It was me and my family that showed up out there, okay? There was no 2 out of nothing. Listen, we got to gather around my boy. We got to get this prayer going. And my Aunt Carrie, may she rest in peace. Rest in peace, Aunt Carrie. My Aunt Carrie, my mom called on her aunt to call, to be able to pray for her grandson. And so, Aunt Carrie, them older people, they get the praying. They be moving, they move the mountains, boy. They clear the way. Them prayers be coming through, baby, and that's exactly what happened. And so, we get to the room. We see his male and female doctors. Shout out to everybody that had a hand in my son's care. They're, doing their little 1s or 2s, checking vitals, whatnot, and all I'm thinking to myself is, this can't be life, man. I didn't give birth to a kid that had a head injury. I didn't give birth to a kid that had a scar. But again, if my son is being strong, I have to be strong. And that's just what I keep telling myself. Because at this point, everybody is looking at me like, like I'm being strong. I'm watching everybody else cry and stuff. And, I'm just trying to be as strong as possible. Especially while I'm standing there over his bed. Especially because I'm not trying to give off that energy to him. And so Aunt Carrie, when she prays on the speaker, the doctors allow us to bring everybody in to do the prayer. But then they just wanted us to come after 2 at a time and just swap out like that. Just because it is ICU and you have to, it's policies, protocol, things like that. We get it. I understand. And I didn't have a problem swapping out of anybody, to let family come in or whatnot. And so my Aunt Carrie, she get to praying. When I tell you, praying, long prayer, but she praying, and I'm with it, and I'm here for it, and I'm going, and I'm just letting her, her prayers come down onto my son to be able to give him the strength that he needs. But before she could finish, I just had to step out the room. And I broke down. I broke down. And you have to imagine it's a lot going on. I'm still getting calls. I'm getting calls from the police. I'm getting, excuse me, I'm getting calls just left and right. You understand what I'm saying? And it was just a lot going on. It was just a lot going on. I'm still trying to process all of this. I still get choked up and when I think about this. And it's a lot I didn't even go into detail on. I'm trying to just, like I said, I want to just vent it out and get it out. And feel free, like I said, leave them comments down below. You know, I want to say thank you to everybody that reached out during that time. With any help they were trying to give, any help that they did give, it didn't go unnoticed. It was very much appreciated. It was very much appreciated. The beautiful flower arrangements and everything that my son received. Thank you to everybody. Even if it was just prayers and a kind word. Or even if you just prayed behind the scene and didn't know how to pick up the phone. Because I know it can be hard for you guys too to try to comfort someone, especially if it's a situation that you yourself have never experienced. And so I get that. It's just, I stayed in that hospital for 2 weeks. Everybody kept trying to get me to go home. The only time I went home was my daughters had everybody had doctor's appointments, even my son. That Monday, like I said, this happened over the weekend, and so everybody had doctor's appointments, and school was coming back. So, they needed they stuff for school to be updated and everything. You know how that go. And so I felt so bad because I had to leave to make that hour or so trip back towards home to get my daughters to the doctor. And then I have to come back up there with my son. But I did it. And I stayed out there the whole time my boy was there in the hospital. There's so many thoughts going through my head because it's not easy to get up here and, and vent, and to try to just be transparent and to just, but I figured I had to do this and I was going back and forth with myself because I ultimately never want to tell my son's story, but I went through it as well, and I'm still going through it. My son's scar, they had to open him up from ear to ear. So he essentially has a scar from here all the way, all the way, all the way to there. They had drainage tubes running to his brain to drain some of the fluids, take some of the pressure off, things like that. It was a lot going on. A lot to see, a lot to process, a lot of talking to God, trying to understand. But like I said earlier, I chose to look at it as my son was selected by God because maybe he was the person that God knew would pull through and make it through. And that's exactly what happened. I'm going to leave this video right here because I feel myself about to get like really emotional again, and I don't want to get emotional again. It's like 2 something in the morning. I'm tired. And I just want to call it a night. But again, thank you for everyone stopping through. Make sure you hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. And make sure your post notifications are turned on. And anything you want to know, anything I left out, just ask me down in the comment section. Thank you for allowing me to vent. And I hope this touches someone and is able to give someone some strength. I hope this is able to give someone some strength. I really do. Yeah. Yeah, be strong. Be strong. Because you know what they say, what don't kill you only make you stronger. You got it. You're going to be just all right. I'm still standing. I'm okay. I know you'll be okay. So if this video resonates with you, or if you know anybody that has ever suffered from a traumatic brain injury or have been in a really terrible car accident or whatever, let's gather here. Let's talk here. Let's try to comfort and support one another. Because I don't know about y'all, but I definitely can use the love and support. Don't forget to check on the strong ones.